Kourtney Gibson didn't plan on a career in finance. She wanted to be a bilingual pediatrician, but life took her in a different direction. She helped build one of the most successful Black-owned investment firms in America. And now she's CEO of TIAA Retirement Solutions, leading a century-old company that manages nearly $1 trillion in assets, all with one mission: helping Americans live comfortably in retirement. A 2025 CNBC Changemaker, Kourtney Gibson is in the Changemakers and Power Players spotlight. Kourtney, thank you so much for joining me here for this Changemakers and Power Players podcast. I see you all the time on CNBC, so I feel like we see each other a lot more than on TV than in person.
I agree. Yeah. We got to do better. We're going to do better.
But I appreciate you making the time. I know you've been traveling around and you have this huge job as CEO of TIAA Retirement Solutions. What is your mission in your role?
Well, first of all, it's so wonderful to be here with you. I've always thought about you and all the work that you've done and the light that you bring to this world. So first of all, thank you for that.
Pleasure.
Absolutely. But when I think about kind of why, right, it is kind of our job to, whatever we choose to do, to actually bring that light, to give people possibility, to make sure people have hope, and to use whatever information and knowledge that we've gathered in our days and journeys to make hopefully that next person's life just a little bit easier. So when I think about TIAA and our mission as an enterprise, I think you might know, we actually were founded to create retirement security for more Americans. And here we are, 107 years later, still living out that mission every single day. And across our 15,000 associates, that's our North Star.
That's such a long legacy and such an important mission. So just walk us through what your average day looks like. You're managing this portfolio, you're having all these people who report to you, but what does your job actually entail?
Oh, you want me to start there? You don't want to start at 4 a.m., right? You don't want to start at 4 a.m. with the 4 kids. There is no average day, but actually that's kind of what I like. When you can think about no matter what throughout the day you're going through, and the fact that you can still point to, like, yes, that helps us deliver on our mission. Yes, that's helping one more person have retirement security. Yes, that institution did exactly what they were supposed to do with their plan design to ensure that millions more people actually have what they need in the retirement that they want to live. And so when I think about start to finish, there's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of Zoom calls. There's hopefully a couple of client calls, client meetings in there. I get the privilege of supporting my incredible team with really getting in front of our plan sponsors and our consultants. And many of our participants in our plans are also on these retirement committees for these plan sponsors. So I get the privilege of supporting my team in helping them to, really ensure that our clients are getting what they need from TIAA and that we continue to deliver on our mission with them.
So we're going to get to the 4 a.m. wake-ups and the 4 kids, but I want to go back to the beginning. How did you end up here? Because for many years you were at Loop Capital, which is a very innovative fund, but was this always your vision to end up in this world of finance and now retirement solutions?
Absolutely not. I always joke with my team. I was like, you do know I was going to be a bilingual pediatrician, right? So, it's a really kind of cool thing. I didn't choose finance. I'd say finance chose me. And I was put in an incredible position where I had an opportunity. My cousin actually founded Loop Capital back in '97, and he gave me a tremendous opportunity to intern. He didn't tell me that this life was going to kind of suck me in, and started out corporate investment banking, moved through capital markets, sales and trading, and helping to lead one of the largest privately held investment services firms that's here in the U.S. And it kind of snuck up on me, if you will, but I fell in love with it. To understand how money moves, something that generally people think is so complex, making it simple, making it a reality, and being able to build relationships and grow a business is a tremendous opportunity to have. And then when I got the opportunity to join TIAA, and Tashonda Brown Duckett said, hey, we got to make sure that this company's here for the next 100 years, I was like, hey, sign me up.
What's so interesting is you were in this world of big finance, but it was also a startup.
Yes.
And you started from the very bottom as an intern. How has your perspective been shaped as a leader from having been at a real startup for so many years for your career?
It's funny you should say that. I think it's created a lot of appreciation for the process. And
what do you mean by that? What process?
so, when I think about growth, right? Growth really happens on the journey. It's not when you get to the destination. And so having the privilege of 2020 hindsight, and I look at all of the things that I've gotten a chance to experience over my career, all of the people I've had the chance to meet, to work with, to help, you get an appreciation for how it works. Realistically, how do you build a business from the ground up? How do you build relationships? How does real business get done? You've got to have the substance, but I don't care if you are in a big tech company or if you are running a hospital system, people still do business with who they know, like, and trust. And those fundamentals have to stay within the fabric of an organization, within a business, in order for it to be successful. When people stop trusting you, there's a problem. And so, when I think about growing Loop and being able to say, okay, we're going in this direction, we're going in this direction, how do we listen to our clients, right? A lot more listening than talking like that I'm doing right now. But it's what are they saying, right? And there's what they're saying, and then what can you actually derive from that that's going to help you to help them solve the problems that they may not even know they have today. And so being able to be innovative, entrepreneurial, grow a business, again, financial services, capital markets, hundreds of years old. This company was really rooted in a lot of it. And when you think about innovating in, again, old industry, it's no different than with TIAA. Like I said, we invented the annuity, but how do we make sure that that 23-year-old or 25-year-old understands that they may live to 100 years old, right? How do you engage them to say, hey, you don't have to understand every nuance of the Sharpe ratio or what asset allocation means, but you better make sure you've got your savings right. You better make sure you're contributing to your retirement plan. And if your company is matching, do not leave that money on the table. Scratch, claw, whatever. You put up 3% and that company's going to match it. Guess what? You've now got 6%. We can all do that math. But how do you make sure that you're making the right choices today to set yourself up in the future for success? Because, you think a lot about, whether it's young people, even people that aren't as young, that don't really have a good grasp on how long they're going to live and how much they're going to need in retirement and what protection in their portfolio can help them to do to ensure that at least they know how they're going to pay their bills. At least they know they're going to have their minimum needs met, whether they live to 80, 90, or we have some people we're paying that are 106 years old. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Exactly. Yeah. To live long and not have to worry about where the money's coming from. I'd sign up for that any day of the week.
I want to go back to this idea of trust, because it seems like that was really central to helping scale and grow Loop Capital, and trust is really central to what you're doing now. You mentioned listening. What are the other pieces that are essential for anyone listening to us now to think about what they can do to build trust, whether it's with their customers or their employees?
I'm going to tell you the first thing that pops in my mind. Do what you say you're going to do. It starts there. It's really simple. If you're going to be somewhere, be there. If you're going to do something, do it. If you've got a product, make sure what it does, it says it's going to do. That is the simplest way. My mother would always say, I can show you better than I can tell you. And that oftentimes is again, is something that kind of feeds through the fabric of who I am as a human, and then also, obviously, how I lead. I can show you a lot better than I can tell you, and candidly, people believe that a lot more. And so do what you say you're going to do. Show up. Have a good team around you. Trust that team. Empower that team. Ensure you're helping them and that they know that you've got their back, but at the same time, giving them just enough to where they can shine and thrive in the right scenarios and situations.
So you were hired in part because you had this background at an innovative startup. How did you bring a spirit and a culture of innovation to this century-old institution? How do you start to change that culture?
Woo, it's not easy. It's not easy. And it's not the culture, because the culture of TIAA is one that I would think rivals any culture. Like, I want to be really clear. Our people are what power this mission. And I will tell you, going up and down that elevator every single day are our assets, and those assets are delivering on our mission. So I want to start there with culture and who we are. We aren't going to get it right all the time, but what we do get right is the fact that we're focused on the right thing, we do the right thing, and we believe in what we're doing every single day. Now, that bureaucracy that comes with big firms, that's a whole different ballgame. and you got to kind of chip away at it, right? Because even people who want to be more entrepreneurial, who want to kind of infuse that entrepreneurial nature into the fabric of it, it's not easy. I mean, you got 15 layers of this and that, and you've got sign-offs and check-ins and 15 PowerPoints for a 12-minute meeting. So trying to just, again, where I can personally see it, address it, but then again, empowering my team to say, how do we move faster? How do we do it better? What's getting in the way of us doing this? Because again, the clock is ticking, right? 45% of Americans aren't saving enough for retirement. So every single day that we're sitting there, presenting on something or sitting in a room looking at each other without an outcome on the agenda, that's time wasted from actually executing and getting to the core of what we're here to do. So once that strategy is set, which we have, once we've got a great team in place, which we do, let's let them run. Run. We're going to make mistakes, but how quickly do you get up? How resilient are you going to be?
So you have introduced all sorts of innovative products like Retire Plus. Looking back at your experience at TIAA, what are the most surprising or most valuable takeaways about things anyone can do to try to break down the bureaucracy or just introduce new ways of doing things?
It's something that you got to kind of do more than just think about. You got to act. And I didn't necessarily create Retire Plus. We have an incredible product team that did that. But how do you bring it to light? I tell people that I run into randomly on the street, I'm like, TIAA is the best kept secret in financial services, but not for long. We have to make sure that we're bringing our value to the masses. We have to ensure that what makes us great, that everyone who could benefit from it knows who we are. That's our responsibility. That's our accountability. And so as you're thinking about what you're doing in your day-to-day life, I don't mind whether you're sweeping floors, whether you're flipping burgers somewhere, whether you are the top C-suite leader in an organization. Is there something that you can pivot to do it better, to do it faster, to do it more smartly, to scale it better? Is there something you can take out of the way that helps you accelerate much more quickly? That's how you kind of move around the bureaucracy, and don't just accept what is because it was what was. Does it make sense today, right? Does it really?
But where did this come from? Where did your leadership approach and your eagerness to change entrenched institutions come from?
I don't know. Like I said, I spent a lot of time under my cousin's tutelage, Jim Reynolds, who founded Loop, and it's really how he operated. Now, he came from a big bulge bracket investment banking firm, and part of the reason he founded Loop was he said firms were getting away from the fabric of why they were there, which is to serve our clients. And so as I was growing, 16, 17 years old, and I'm running around with pitch books I've created, getting coffee, doing whatever it took to get the business done and to really help support those leaders that I had the privilege of working with, I was also picking up things in between time. I don't know if you've seen Hamilton, but being in the room when it happens actually matters. And when you think about how that really impacts and shapes, or at least how it's shaped my life, it's tremendous. It's tremendous because it's not all about, who there's always going to be someone smarter than you. As a matter of fact, I want all the smartest people around me because I don't want to be the smartest one in the room. But there's always going to be someone that knows more about something than you. So the question is, how do you bring them on the team? And how do you leverage that to then make that 1 + 1 = 3 at the end of the day?
So this idea of mentorship, sponsorship, just even bringing people into the room, how are you putting that into effect at TIAA?
My team probably thinks I'm nuts. Again, I come from that entrepreneurial background, as you mentioned, so there'll be days I'll pop out of my office and I'll just grab someone and say, hey, are you on a call? Are you in the middle of something? I have a call with the CFO. Do you want to just come in and listen? Okay, now let's debrief, right? And I'll spend the time afterwards to say, what did they hear? What did they take away? Is there something I missed? A lot of leaders won't do that. And candidly, some of the folks on your team hear things differently than you. They might make you think about something differently, but I try as much as I can to be as inclusive as I can, again, as appropriate, to bring young people along. And, I've had a ton of sponsors in my day. I mean, you can't get very far without someone speaking well of you when you're not in the room. But I've also had, mentors, and I consider mentors, they don't have to be more senior than you. They're junior than you. I'm like, hey, tell me what we're not doing right. I'll talk to my chief of staff. Hey, tell me where I got this wrong. Am I thinking about this the right way? But create that space. Those moments not only help them grow, if you do it right, they help you grow. And I just have an insatiable appetite to just kind of keep growing. Every day is an opportunity for me to be better, and hopefully by me being better, it influences and impacts others.
Retirement is an equity issue, and this is something that you've been focused on to close equity gaps, both for women and for people of color. How important do you think that is to your work, and how do you elevate these issues?
You know what the surprising thing is? Retirement inequity does disproportionately impact minorities and women. But 45% of all Americans are at risk of running short in retirement. That's all Americans. That's a big number. That's a big number. And when you think about 2/3 of Gen Z just not knowing what to do, that's not talking about just black and brown. It's not just talking about women. It's talking about all. And so when you think about that, it takes away what sometimes can be divisive, like, oh, why are you focusing on? Well, I'm focusing on it because candidly, there's a huge inequity here. But we can all rally around the ability for people to live the retirement that they want to live. And that's something that I think is incredibly important. I mean, we're sitting here in DC right now. This is a partisan issue. Social Security was never meant to be the only thing that helped Americans live securely in retirement. It was not meant to be the be-all, end-all. And when you took defined benefit programs and pension plans away, right? You look back into the 70s. I mean, back in the 70s, an overwhelming majority of Americans had access to a pension plan. Today, it's in the teens. It's in the teens. So what are we going to do to make up that gap? And it's not just a problem of, you know, the folks that are less, you know, in the lower middle class, whatever you want to call it. It's not just a problem there. It becomes all of our problem. And it's a problem we can solve when you get the right minds together, you put aside your differences and you say, let's go tackle this. And so part of what we're doing at TIAA, whether it's through us or through just expanding the category, we're talking about what guaranteed lifetime income looks like as a part of all pension plans. 403B, the teachers, the professors, when TIAA was founded, it was to help them. Because you had professors retiring in poverty. No one would say that was a good idea. But that's why TIAA was founded. But now that we've created something that truly can help anyone, how do we make sure that they have access to it? So whether it's through our own pipes, whether it's partnering with other financial services firms, we're like, hey, this should be there, and this is why. We've all talked about balanced portfolios. You see me on CNBC. I mean, asset allocation matters. Allocation to equities, allocation to fixed income, and allocation to guaranteed lifetime income helps just ensure at least this piece of the portfolio is not going down when you're contributing. At least this piece of the portfolio can potentially provide you with a guaranteed paycheck for life. And I personally think, at least talking to other millennials and Gen Z and everyone, people are like, I just want to know I got something. And that helps to create that security, and that can help alleviate all kinds of burdens on people. Mental health, we can do the studies in 100 years. I won't be here, but someone can do the studies on what financial security actually does to even mental health and some of the other things that are plaguing many, many people in this world today.
We are here in DC, and it's a very polarized and fragmented time. Do you feel like you have to navigate that? Is there a risk of your work becoming politicized or having to be in the middle of any of that conflict?
I've had to navigate my whole life. Nothing's going to change. What I love about this, as I mentioned, it's something we can all rally around. It's something we all should rally around. Now it's just a matter of getting the brainwave space of the people that can kind of make the decisions, make the changes, make access easier in the playbook, right? When you talk about auto escalation and auto saving, I mean, I'd love to have the option, I'm glad I don't, but we all have to contribute to Social Security. What if you had to contribute to your own retirement program and plan, right? You'd figure out how to get around it. An extra $5, $10, $20 a month. Times are hard right now for many, many people. But if you kind of decide, this is something that I actually want to make sure of. If you get a raise, right? Perfect example. Say you get a raise. Are you giving your future self a raise? Are you taking a piece of that and putting it away for your future self? So, I think it's just really small, tactical, but logical things that we can all rally around to say we made an impact, right? Like we improved the retirement readiness of Americans, period. Who cares if it's red, blue, or somewhere in between? We did it and we did it together. That to me is what good looks like.
I'm curious about you as a leader. How have you evolved as a leader over the years from Loop to TIAA? And what do you think your leadership superpowers are?
I've calmed down a little bit. But, with age, with growth, like I said, one of the things I love to say is that growth happens in the process, right? And so as I have grown and evolved, I've looked at leaders that I appreciate. I've taken some of those good skills. I've looked at leaders that maybe I don't appreciate. And I've said, that's not going to be me. And I've pivoted. So I think my leadership superpower is probably, if I had to name one thing, it's probably resilience. I'm incredibly resilient. I'm not going to win all the time, but I am going to get back up. As long as there's a breath in my body, I'm going to keep going. And so I think that and that level of energy and that focus is something that's going to continue to hopefully help me if I have the privilege of leading as we go forward, and has helped in the past.
And you mentioned you have 4 kids. You mentioned a 4 a.m. wake up. I hope that wasn't this morning. How do you manage all of that, and how has having kids impacted you as a leader? Or has it?
Kids keep you honest. Kids definitely keep you honest. They don't care what you're doing when you're not here. When you're here, you're mommy. And, making sure they understand who mommy is and that I love them. They are my light. They are 100% my light. And everything that I do, is a benefit to them. I have to leave this place better than I found it. There's some people that are, it sounds good, but I brought 4 little people into this world that didn't ask to be here. And so I take it very personal to ensure that I'm raising good humans and that I'm leaving this place better than I found it so they can pick up the torch and keep it going, hopefully. But those little monsters, those are my little people.
You talk about your focus on family and faith. Yeah. How do you use that to focus you and drive you?
It's rooted in it. Every single day, every second of every single day, like I said, it's rooted in it. I mean, it's my faith. That's what keeps me going. The only way I can be resilient, right? It's my family. That's motivation, day in and day out. And so, again, when you think about why you're here, why I'm here, is to make this place better. And I could have become a bilingual pediatrician like I talked about, and I'm sure I would have been a great one. I would have cried every day and tried to take every child home. But, this was my path, and I've been blessed to have this path, and I'm not going to squander it.
So what do you do to avoid burnout? Your job is crazy. You have travel, you have kids, you're on CNBC a lot. How do you stay energized and not just burn yourself out?
My kids actually give me energy. I love to be laying on my sofa, have all 4 of them crawled on top of me, somebody's pulling my hair, someone's snuggling in my neck. That is my happy place. So for some, family and that would probably be chaos. For me, it is a sense of peace. I love airplanes. So even though I travel for work, I love to go see new things. I love to travel. But on a good old Saturday afternoon, give me 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 of those kids, maybe even all 4. We're going to snuggle up in the bed and take a nap. I don't need much. Give me a solid hour and a half nap. I can go for the next 48 hours. So that's my, you have to find what fuels you. And making impact fuels you. My family fuels me. And, like I said, my faith fuels me. And so you got to make that space in there for those things that matter.
What is your advice to the next generation? You've thrived in an incredibly male-dominated field. What's your advice to other people who want to succeed in areas where maybe there aren't a lot of examples?
Stay curious, be agile, be resilient. Just because one thing didn't work, you can go cry. You can go be sad for a weekend. But on that next Monday morning, get back up and get after it. Because you have one life to live. And so if you're going to make the impact that you personally want to make, whatever that is, go after it. That's my hack. If you are set in why you're here, even if you don't know why you're here, but you know you're great at something. You know you've got breath in that body, go find it, seek it, and be great at it, and keep going.
But what about all the distractions? How do you stay focused and make sure you're not just chasing what other people are doing and you really are true to yourself?
Distractions. That sometimes distractions are good. Like, people talk about social media as a bad thing. I will tell you, I have plenty of friends who are like, it's motivation. I want to go look at that $100 million mansion and I want to figure out how to do it, right? I want to look at that pickleball court that was opened over here and say, well, what if I opened 6 of those in South Florida, right? Sometimes that can infuse actual inspiration. So I don't think there's a one size fits all, but I think it is just figuring out what it is that you're good at and staying focused. Be a good human. Be a good human. Sometimes things will find you. I like, let me be crystal clear. My faith, those blessings, that ain't me. The opportunities, yes, I worked hard and all. There's a lot of people who work hard. There's a lot of people who are smart, right? Someone else has given an opportunity. Someone else took a chance. Someone else put their name on the line to give me an opportunity. Now, it was up to me to show up and to deliver. But everything is not, what I did to get here. And you'll never hear me kind of say that. I probably say it a lot less than some might say I should. But I am a firm believer that at the end of the day, there's a lot of people whose blood, sweat, and tears help to get me, and if I may, you, in the seat that you're in. But it's up to us to ensure that while we're there, we make the most of it. And that's what I would say to people, make the most of where you are. And if you then identify what is going to make you happy, what brings you joy, then do everything in your power focusing on it. It may not come today, but what are those milestones along the way that you track yourself to get to where you want to get to?
That kind of self-knowledge takes a lot of work. It does. And also time to figure it out. For me, getting to work on Changemakers now, it took me a lot of my career to know that this is something I really wanted to invest in, to make the most of my position. Do you feel like you've changed a lot?
Absolutely. My core has not. I am still the same human being. I'll run into people who've known me my whole life and they're like, Kourtney, you have not changed. Because the core of who I am and the core of who you are shouldn't change. It shouldn't change. But what you did was, like you said, it took the time, it took the journey, it took the growth. That's how you are, where you are today. And who knows what the next leg of the journey might be for you. But the core of who you are, the core of me, my faith, my family, bringing goodness, smiling. Some people get mad because I smile so much. I'm like, there's a lot of things people can be unhappy about in this world, and I'm not going to let that make me unhappy today.
How can anyone take issue with smiling too much?
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
And I smile too much too. So, any final words of wisdom to young people who look up to you and admire your career?
Thank you. Keep going. My fuel comes from their success. I love to cheer other people on. I love to see others thriving. Send me those good notes. Show me those hard times, but better yet, show me how you got back up. Don't give up. We have an amazing, amazing opportunity during our time on this earth. And if all of us just took the time to be great at what we do, not a whole lot that my 4 little ones are going to have to worry about come their time at my age.
Well, I love you leaving the world a better place for them. Kourtney, thank you so much for
talking
to us here today.
Appreciate it.